Good morning, everyone.
Good
We
morning, sir.
welcome. Good morning. So
Good
we have
morning, sir.
good morning. Today we have an eminent and enlightened resource person, Dr. Bhavna Mahadev, ma'am, who is working in University of Technology, Mauritius University, and the topic for today's session is influence of emerging technology and the enforcement of law. As we know, with the technology that is emerging, it is bringing both benefits as well as challenges to the enforcement of law. And since it's a dynamic and a very rapid evolutionary practice, so technology, we need to be up to date to understand the consequences of evolving technology on the enforcement of law, because without the enforcement of law, maintenance of order in the society is very difficult, and if the law is not implemented in the proper manner, definitely we are going to have a lot many number of challenges that we cannot even expect. So in this regard, we should take the help of technology, and at the same time we should also be aware about the misuse of technology for the regulatory purposes. With this note, I would like to welcome one and all everyone present here. I hope this is a weekend time, but still your engagement in this session shows the and interest on this topic. And for going ahead, I would request Krishna, the research scholar from Department of Law, Central University of Karnataka, to please introduce the resource person. Thank you. Over to you, Krishna.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. Good morning, one and all. Myself, K.M. Krishna Shekhar Sharma, research scholar from Department of Law, Central University of Karnataka. It is indeed an opportunity for me to introduce today's resource person of the session, Dr. Bhavna Mahadev ma'am. Dr. Bhavna Mahadev ma'am is a full-time lecturer in law at the University of Technology, Mauritius. She holds an LLB honors, LLM, and an LLD from the University of Western Cape, Cape Town. She specialization she specializes in international economic law, financial law, corporate law, and legal research methodology. She has contributed significantly in the various fields of law through publications, conferences, and workshops. With this brief introduction, I would also like to inform all the participants who have joined that our HOD sir, Dr. Baswaraj M. Kubakadi, has also in this session due to some meeting in a circumstances where he cannot speak. He also, on behalf of him, he also asked me to convey to welcome the resource person and all the participants who showed their interest in this webinar. With this, ma'am, I once again welcome you on behalf
Thank
of
you.
all the participants and Department of Law, and you can take over the session, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So I would like to first of all express my thanks to Dr. Jayanta for having invited me for today. We have been working in several collaborations in the past. So thank you, Dr. Jayanta, for this amazing opportunity. And
You're welcome.
in terms of the participants, so are we all students here, or do we have some academics who are also present?
Ma'am, both academicians are also there, corporate personalities are also there, ma'am.
Okay, great. So we have a plethora and a variety of researchers who are listening to us today. So as Dr. Jayanta very rightly mentioned, guys, okay, technology is something which is still evolving,
Ma'am,
right?
ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Your video is off, I suppose. Oh, now
Yeah,
it's
you
okay.
got yeah, I think sometimes it gets disrupted. Yeah. So yes, so technology is something that is keeping on evolving. Okay. We do not know where technology is going to end. But where we are lagging behind, right? It is in terms of what are the legal framework that are being brought about to be able to deal with this evolution of technology. Right now, in terms of technology being present in all spheres of our life, when it comes to the legal field, where we talk about the enforcement of law, so this is where technology is also trying to make its mark. Okay, so the purpose of my today's intervention is to be able to bring some light in terms of what is that influence of technology. All right, I would just request the other participants to mute themselves, please, because then it gives me trouble. Is there someone who cannot hear us properly? Because I see some hands raised.
No, ma'am, this might be because of mistake. It is perfectly audible.
Okay. Okay, right. So please mute yourself and then we can open the floor for questions later, right? So yeah, so I was saying that in the quickly changing digital age that we have, innovation and the introduction of technology, they have had a profound effect on every aspect of society, including law enforcement. So numerous noteworthy advancements in the way we access, we evaluate, and we handle relevant information within the justice system. They have been made possible by digital transformation. Right now, the rapid advancement of innovation and technology, they have had a significant impact on many facets of human endeavor, including the legal field, as I was just telling you, right? So the use of technology, to me, and I believe also to you, being all in the legal field, this has become an essential component of law enforcement in the digital age. However, the development of positive law. What is positive law? That is the laws governing the use of technology. These are lagging behind the quick growth of technology. We are not being able to meet with the pace of technology when it comes to the development of laws to govern that evolving technology. Right? So there is one theory which was brought by Lawrence Lessig, okay, in a book called The Code and All the Laws of Cyberspace, where he mentioned that computer code is crucial in establishing the standards and guidelines that control conduct in the digital sphere. He stresses the importance of understanding how technology development affects the administration and the structure of justice. There was another well-known expert in the topic. When I have done several interventions in the past, I have been making reference to Richard Susskind. He has made important contributions to our knowledge of the complex interrelationship between technology and law. So Professor Susskind, he is a prominent legal specialist in the intersection between technology and law enforcement. And he has emphasized on the profound influence of technology on both the theoretical and operational facets of law enforcement. His ideas of online courts, is it the end of lawyers? These have sparked important conversation about how law enforcement is changing with the emerging technologies that are coming, right? So basically, the emergence of new technology, it has increased the complexity, the expense, and the risk of the corporate environment. It is now essential for businesses to adapt due to the rapidly evolving technology, intense competition, and shifting business processes. For example, I'm from the corporate background. So one of the organization's most important resources and subsystem is technological innovation. The ability of a business to maintain its competitiveness and attain long-term profitability is being greatly impacted by technology. So businesses in the modern market, they also need to be aware of technological opportunities and then take use of them to enhance operation and services and support corporate strategy. One can also argue, that an organization or a company's ability to respond to and adapt to technological innovation is essential for its long-term success. Now, basically, the introduction of information and communication technology, they are having impacts on the social, economic, and legal spheres during this turbulent time. So technology is becoming the main force behind change in many human activities, such as communication, employment, social connection. We have had rapid technological advances like cloud computing, automation, artificial intelligence. We all know about it, right? They have resulted in major advancement that pose a number of challenging legal questions. Okay, now, when we talk about emerging technologies, new technologies, they are bringing up some previously unheard of opportunities, as well as new problems that now have an impact on people, business, and governments. So, how quickly the law can change to meet these technological challenges is one of the biggest obstacles. You will agree with me that the law cannot rely on rules that have been in effect for decades in the digital age. When we are in the legal field, we should not be thinking inside the box. We should not be thinking without blinkers that, okay, enforcement of law, so we are going to watch that strictly in terms of how the law is being enforced. There are so many branches which are affected. The areas of data privacy, security, intellectual property, let's say digital intellectual property, cybercrime, sharing economy legislation, these are where the most obvious legal difficulties are to be found. Furthermore, people are paying now more attention to the ethical issues surrounding the use of technology, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence. However, discussions concerning the limits of free expression, digital monitoring and surveillance, as well as individual rights related to the use of personal information, they are becoming more complex overall. So, all the difficulties which I have just mentioned, they are exacerbating the need for a more rapid and relevant legal evaluation and adaptation. This is the gist of today's intervention. What is the influence on the enforcement of law, right? So as a result, what we are trying to examine today is how can we use the law to solve the issues in the digital age. Now, it is only after understanding the correct technological changes, as well as how they affect daily life, this is what is going to lay the groundwork for investigating how the law might support this advancement while defending people's rights and values in a world which is becoming more interconnected and digitalized, right? So for me, taking these factors into account, I am today going to outline the difficulties we have spoke about above. What are the steps being taken by some nations to overcome them? And also the moral and legal ramifications that will emerge where technology advances, right? Are you all still with me? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Right. Now let's get to some discussions, okay? Let's say with new alternatives that not only, they address areas of life such as the national legal life, but also seek to energize global life. The phenomenon of life itself, it has become more and more prevalent in global formats. This is evident even as localism, spreads around the world. So let me just take one example. After gaining independence, Indonesia, yeah, we all know Indonesia. Indonesia worked to construct a national law that reflected the identity of the country. Written law is the main focus of Indonesian law. I'm sure you have all heard about positivism. Positivism, a theory that emphasizes formal physical activity and can attain national jurisdiction based on territorial borders. It is the foundation of the existing legal system. So, examining the legal meta-narrative in the context of these recent advancements is essential, given the emergence of information technology, right? Globally. So in its increasingly global format, life provides fresh options that tackle various facets of life, including national legal life, while also aiming to promote localism and liven up the world. So the evolution of the modern state and the reciprocal interaction between law and society, they are historical processes that have resulted in the correct manifestation of law. The following characteristics I'll just list down, they will define this modernity. So it has to be written down. The entire state area is subject to the law, and society uses the law as a tool to carry out political judgment. So in today's increasingly diverse and complicated nations, the need for written law is obvious. The law is formalized, inflexible, and rigidified by written law. Written law makes the law the sole purview of authorized authorities by formalizing, solidifying, and inflexibly defining it. As a result, it runs counter to the ideas of fairness and legal certainty. Now, coming to technology. The availability of justice, they have been significantly impacted by the development of technology. Let's look at some ways in which technology has affected this accessibility. First of all, equitable access. People who live in, between inverted commas, difficult to reach places, they can use technology to make it easier for them to access the legal system. To help self-broadcasting, users traverse the court system. For example, the court may use information technology. For example, general information on the court website. You can access them. Secondly, online legal services. So technology can also make it easier to provide legal services in a quick and simple manner. Bold apps. They can be used to obtain legal information or to submit legal application. Accessibility of legal information. Technology can also make it easier to quickly obtain legal information. For example, court websites which provide data on a court schedule, court decision, or the legal data. However, what we should be paying attention to here is that the accessibility of justice, it may also suffer as a result of the use of technology. One such effect is the disruption of technical information accessibility, which is brought on by both the scarcity of technological resources and variables which are related to technological evolution. Furthermore, it is conceivable that the fundamental concepts of the rule of law, which have been established within the framework, of the justice system, they may also inadvertently be compromised by the conduct of private sector technology developers. So as a result, a thorough evaluation of how technology advancement they have influenced the enforcement of law is essential. This will guarantee that justice shall always be accessible, right? Now, the human situation. The human situation, it has changed significantly in recent decades due to the rapid growth of technology. The difficulties in implementing this technology revolution, they are one area that has been greatly influenced. So when using technology, law enforcement organizations, they face so many challenges. There are worries about data security. There are issues of data privacy. We have growing technological complexity and resource sustainability as well, right? So concerns over privacy and security, they have arisen as a result of law enforcement organizations increasing use of technology, especially in light of how simple it is to gather, retain, and exploit personal data. So today, what we need to understand is that people, us, government, organization, we must all acknowledge the difficulties in protecting personal data in this age of widespread data collection. The risk of data being misused or falling into the wrong hands, they increase as more data is gathered and stored, right? The frequency of hacking, cybercrime, they make measures to protect sensitive data even more difficult. In our digital age, gathering vast amount of data is one of the biggest problems, right? The amount of personal data being gathered has increased exponentially since the introduction of the internet, social media, networking services, etc., right? When I'm talking about the personal data here is highly personal information like name, address, phone number, browsing history, buying patterns. All of these are included in this data. So concerns about privacy may arise from extensive data collection. So one significant concern is the possible misuse of personal information without the participants agreeing to it, right? So the possible misuse of data gathered by third parties presents another difficulty. Many businesses today, they are collecting personal information from their clients, and they use it for a variety of purposes, for consumer research, for targeted advertising. However, there is a risk that, such information, they can be misused by unauthorized parties, or they can be used for unintended objective, such as for identity theft or even extortion. Okay, so individual privacy is being seriously threatened by third parties misusing data, right? Now, furthermore, insufficient security measures, they also pose an additional obstacle to safeguarding personal information. Cyber attacks that involve the theft of personal information, you will agree with me, they are happening more and more frequently now. Phishing attempts, malware, system hacks, these are just a few of the ways in which malicious actors, they can steal data, right? So individual privacy may be at risk due to the possibility of personal data being compromised due to security system flaws. Okay, so for me, technology, it gets more and more complex as it advances in sophistication. So because of this, law enforcement organizations, they may find it difficult to stay up to date and make efficient use of the most recent advancement, right? Law enforcement may find it more difficult to obtain information that could be relevant to an investigation. If, for example, I'm not getting the word, encryption and other security measures are in place, right? So law enforcement agencies, let's see some contributions. We have been talking a bit negatively, so let's see. Law enforcement agencies, they have used a variety of technological innovation to improve operational effectiveness and results. This was according to a report from the Office of Justice Programs from the US Department of Justice, right? So this has been especially noticeable in the context of diminished resources, heightened public scrutiny, and elevated expectation for police behavior. However, empirical information regarding the use and prevalence of technology by US law enforcement agencies, as well as its variables influencing its deployment and selection, this is conspicuously lacking. Financial limitations, we tend to take that very trivial, but it's true. Financial limitations, they are a major barrier to security agencies' adoption of technology. You know, effective solutions, they cannot be provided at a cheap cost or put off indefinitely as, you know, municipalities that budget for law enforcement through securities agencies, they must understand. The management of digital evidence is still an issue. And the difficulties, they only get worse as long as the agencies do not take actions. Law enforcement biggest technological obstacle has nothing to do with hardware, storage, or infrastructure. It has to do with how leaders think. Given budget limitations and the unavoidable loss of field workers, law enforcement organizations, they need to make sure that they have the necessary technologies to be able to improve operational effectiveness. In order to deploy specialized software programs, you know, that digitalize and automate manual operations and the ease collaboration, a more thorough analysis of their mobility and communication solutions, they are necessary, they will be necessary, right? So the expense of using technology in law enforcement, it can be high. And investing in new technology or maintaining current technology, they may be difficult. Furthermore, investment in technology, they may also soon become obsolete. Why obsolete? Because we have a speed at which technology is changing, right? So we have well understood that financial limitations, they are a major barrier to technological use. But at the same time, a pool of federal IT specialists, they have also relieved some other obstacles to digital transformation initiatives. These are inflexible legacy networks, time restrictions, workforce skills gap, security concerns, and the existence of many conflicting agendas, right? So I would like to say that there are advantages, okay? There are advantages, but we also have disadvantages of using technology in law enforcement. Technology can help make law enforcement organization more efficient and successful, but it also requires careful consideration of privacy and security issues, as well as ongoing training, resource investment, so that we can stay up to date with the latest advancement, right? Research and development, online courts, artificial intelligence, they are innovations in the justice system that are being used to guarantee justice. But it is important to note that For example, I have been taking the example of Indonesia. The goal of the AI-based system called Smart Assembly, this was created by the Indonesian Supreme Court. I don't know if you heard about it or you have been doing some research. This came something like quite famous. It was to help to determine the makeup of judges for cases at all levels of the legal system. So according to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the use of this artificial intelligence system, it is going to be further developed in the future, including in first instance and appellate courts, right? With the goal of supporting case handling while not undervaluing the role of humans. Okay? So as the main motivator, it is clear that modern technological advancement, they have resulted in the incorporation of intelligent equipment that may support our task and work and offer the greatest service for justice seekers with accuracy and precision. Now, the legal procedure, it could become more accurate and efficient with the use of artificial intelligence. However, of course, we have to maintain the importance of human judgment and decision making. This is vital, right? So further and future developments in the application of artificial intelligence system, they will continue, including, as I said, in first instance and appellate courts. Now, although the deployment of these tools, they are going to help with case handling, this will not eliminate the need for human intervention. As the main motivator, it is clear that the development of technology in the contemporary day, it has resulted in a rise in the use of intelligent gadgets that can support our responsibilities and efforts to provide, the greatest possible service for those seeking justice. Now, finding new opportunities for innovation and enhancement in the legal system, they can be facilitated by ongoing research, doing development. Now, these developments, they could improve the overall effectiveness, accessibility, and equity of the legal system. However, it is imperative to ensure that these technical advancements, they are applied in a way that respect human rights, they respect the rule of law, they are preventing the continuation of prejudice or discrimination. This is also very important, right? So basically, we can say that, how do I put that in words? It's like, when we have situations, okay, where we are talking about protection, my concern always remains the security and privacy of data. I know I have been reiterating that, but that's crucial. The more people will utilize internet services, the more susceptible their personal information is to abuse. Tech and software firms, when they are gathering data for a variety of use, this is risky, right? Now, let me give you one example here. There have been numerous significant effects. Let's say the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. They have shown us how easily personal information can be used for commercial or political ends without people's knowledge or agreement. So it is very important that we have strict regulatory framework to ensure openness in the use of data. Some nations have passed very strict laws. I'm sure you have all heard about the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation in the European Union. These mandate businesses to secure personal data and grant individuals the right to monitor how their data is being managed. But there are several issues with copyright and intellectual property in the digital age. The internet makes it simple to distribute digital information, including software, books, movies, music. but it also makes it easier to find and disseminate copyright violation, which worries content producers, right? The main issue facing content producers is safeguarding their creations against infringement and abuse. Users, meanwhile, they are concerned about how much ownership and sharing power the content they buy has in the digital setting. This has led to discussions around unrestricted access to digital content and the application of digital rights management. So one of the biggest problems here is cybercrime. Cyber attacks, they have the potential to destroy vital infrastructure and private information and harm people and businesses' reputation. Among the various forms of attacks, we have identity theft, distributed denial of services, malware installation, website hacking. So because of the potential involvement of criminals who may operate outside the borders of a single nation, investigating and prosecuting cybercrime, it's a difficult task. Finding and apprehending these offenders is the responsibility of cyber police, yes, but this calls for close international collaboration. So the necessity of amending current laws and regulation is one of the main challenges in managing technological change. The legal structure that is now in place, it may not be adequate to handle the new problems that evolving technologies are bringing. As I said, one such problem is data privacy, very serious. So many nations, they are taking, yes, proactive stance in response to this requirement. They are creating innovative regulatory framework that recognize the difficulties presented by technological advancement. They are bringing a blend of the understanding of contemporary technology with conventional legal principle. So people, let's say now, they have rights and protection regarding their personal data, for example, thanks to the GDPR. But legal principles which provide crucial instruction for modifying legal frameworks to take into account technological advancement, they are also very important. These values, which encompass universal values like justice, free expression, human rights, they necessitate an interpretative framework that takes into account the subtleties of emerging technologies and their legal ramification. Transparency is a relevant legal principle when we talk about principle. You agree with me? People have the right to know how organizations are collecting, using, and keeping their data in the digital age. So this idea underpins legal frameworks that mandate organization provide people with clear and understandable information how my data is being used. The proportionality concept, this is another relevant legal theory. According to this idea, regulations, they must be reasonable. They must be in line with their intended goals. The need to safeguard individual rights without unreasonably obstructing innovation and useful technology improvement, they must be taken into account when we are enacting laws related to technology and data use. So in order to enforce laws pertaining to technology, law enforcement and judicial institutions, they are important. But they need to have a thorough understanding of technology also. They need to understand data concerns. Otherwise, how are they going to investigate or pursue cases who involve cybercrime, privacy infringement, or other infractions of digital age? So what do we need to make sure? We need to make sure that the appropriate agencies, they have the resources, they have the training that they need to carry out their responsibility. Handling digital evidence tracking out criminality, comprehending encryption technologies. They are necessary skills, right? The adaptation of law to technology, it presents several ethical issues in addition to legal one. How to control the usage of technology that can have negative social or psychological effects. This is one of the difficulties. Concerns about biases and discrimination, they may also arise. For example, when AI is being used in decision-making procedures like, hiring decisions, credit evaluation. Therefore, regulatory frameworks, they must take into account how new technologies can be used in a way that does not penalize particular people or groups. Regulating the use of technology for monitoring and surveillance, they present another ethical dilemma. The extensive use of technology for monitoring people, they may violate their fundamental right to privacy and freedom. So, given all these moral conundrums, the law must consider individual rights, society norms, and the moral precepts that underpin the legal system in the digital age, right? So, I will conclude by saying today that it can be said that in the digital era, technological advancement and interventions, they have a big influence on justice or law enforcement. So increased legal process efficiency, simpler information access, and the use of new investigation techniques, they are all made possible by technological improvements. Nonetheless, issues pertaining to ethics, privacy, unequal access, they must also be resolved. Therefore, it is very important today that we make sure that innovation and technology, they promote rather than undermining the legal system tenets of justice. Research on the impact of innovation and technology on justice in law enforcement, they are producing both positive and bad results. So increased efficiency in the legal system could be one of the benefits. But possible drawbacks would include, as we have been lengthily speaking about, invasion of privacy, personal information, improper use of technology by law enforcement. So I will end my session today by saying that it is not only the judiciary, governments, court, technological companies, us, researchers, let's all work together to create solutions that balance efficiency and equity in modern law enforcement by being aware of these effects, right? So that would be all for me. I hope I have been able to enlighten you a bit about the influence of emerging technologies, and I hope I have been clear, and I have also given you, some ideas to conduct some further research on the matter, because we have a huge scarcity of literature on the matter, right?
Yes, ma'am. So now I would request the participants, if any queries, you can unmute yourself.
Sure.
And I
Yes.
have also received a lot number of queries from these participants through WhatsApp actually. So if
Okay.
participants unmute themselves, then they can put their questions. So otherwise, I will start with those questions. So
Yeah, so I see we have a questions from Mr. Burra Duty, is it? Yeah, are you here? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
She is.
So,
Yes.
yeah, so you are asking me about digital intellectual property. Yes, so one of the concerns that we have been speaking about, except for data privacy, cyber crimes attack, one of the biggest challenges is also intellectual property. And when we say digital intellectual property, right, it's in terms of You can, yeah, okay, hear. Okay, good. No, I thought you said I was on mute, right? So it is when, let's say, in terms of intellectual property, we have the author of the invention, the creator. And of course, he can be the copyright holder, or there can be someone else who holds the intellectual property. But in the digitalized world, in terms of hacking, phishing, and everything that we have, we are at a threat of breach of intellectual property in the digital world. So when we have laws in my country itself, we have acts of parliament, we have legislation coming to intellectual property. Are our laws catering for digital infringement of the intellectual property? Not yet, because we are not being able to keep with the pace of how rapidly technology is evolving and how people are making use of it. So it is very important that we are able to assess the various situations under which this technological advancement can have an effect of every branch of law. It is only then that our laws can cater for this, right? I hope I have been clear, Miss or Mr. Bora. Yeah. Okay, so I see Mr. Ramani is also sharing. Yeah, that's very interesting. We have seen numerous cases where facial recognition technologies, they have led to misidentification, particularly of individuals from marginalized communities. This raises serious concern about bias and the potential for wrongful address. So how do we address this issue? Again, this is yet another example of what I'm saying. There are so many possibilities with this technological advancement. So the only way we can combat this is identifying the maximum of situations that can happen, then amending our laws, creating new laws that can keep up the pace with the changing and advancing technology, right? This facial recognition thing is something like, 20 years back, we didn't have it. But today, taking from your mobile phone till you go and you clocking at your place where you work, facial recognition is everywhere. So to what extent is your data being protected here? We don't know, but we want to know. And we want to be protected in case there are risks to our data because of it. So what can help us here? Only laws, nothing but laws, right? I'm so happy to see that you have enjoyed this session from the comments that I can see.
Good morning, Dr. Bhavna.
Yes, Dr.
Yes,
Arpita.
this is Dr. Arpita here. Yes. My concern here is, don't you feel this gap will always be there between technology and law, no matter how much we foresee the situations?
I will completely agree with you, but just taking the example of sometimes in the medical field we have diseases in which we will say that no matter how much research you do, that type of disease is so complex that it can arise in different ways that it is difficult for humans to keep pace with it. It's the same situation with the intersection between law and technology, right? But even if we might not reach there, we might reach like half the way. You know how? I believe that we lack the participation of various nations. I mean, when you will do research on the subject, you will see that there are some nations who are being proactive about the situation. But there are nations who still have outdated laws when it comes to technology advancement and all. So this is where hackers, people who like to use the system wrongly, where technology can put on a risk, this is where they are likely to promote the misuse, because that the laws are not rigid enough. So for me, if as I said in my concluding remark, if governments, technological companies, specialists in the field of technology, they all work hand in hand, nations are all together, we can at least reach out there. But of course, if technology keeps on evolving and advancing like this, it might be very difficult to keep up with the pace. Right? Thank you, Dr.
I agree, doctor. Also, just adding to it, because if you see the transnational nature of technology, and I
Mhm.
think the nations needs to be on the same page. And
Exactly.
as rightly said, that these hackers are taking advantage probably by sitting in such country or remote area where they know that law is not there or is not enough.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. This is the problem. So sometimes, we will not blame the nations, because sometimes, there are resources which are needed to be able to make research on technology advancement. Some countries, they lack, but this is where, we can have international organization, just like they provide financial support to certain countries. They can also help these countries get advice and get opinion on technology problems, so that then they can try at grassroots level to find some solutions that can help people in that country. Because a country being poor, a country being rich, a country being influential or not, there is one thing that exists in every country: the basic human rights of people. I have a right to privacy, and that right needs to be protected. That's the end of it. I think we had a raised hand.
Ma'am, with your permission, there are two questions. Can I read it out for you?
Yes, no, I think I can see it. It's from Kala, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So, yeah, how to address the issue of liability in case of use of AI in justice dispensation system. So here, while we have been debating about how AI is very significant and efficient in justice dispensation system, when it comes to the issue of liability, right, this is where we have to take note that the intervention of AI in the justice dispensation system, it cannot be a reason for the absence of human intervention. So human and AI, they have to work hand in hand to make sure that in the justice dispensation system, justice is being delivered the way it has to be delivered. Because technology is showing us so many colors, so many nuances, but the human mind is still here. The human emotions, the human feelings, the human brain is still here. So we cannot completely eradicate that. Right? And then we have another question from Dr. Ramani. Please share your insights on how to ensure the authenticity and reliability of rapidly changing digital evidence in fast-paced situations. So again, how to ethically and legally deploy autonomous technology for split-second decisions in law enforcement scenario. Now, when we are in the legal field, in the field where we have litigation, where we have evidence, where we have law enforcement, together with the intervention of AI and everything, we also need to know how in practice things are going to happen. So here, when AI is being used, okay, in situations of producing evidence in a court of law, as I said earlier, human intervention cannot be completely absent from there. So some responsibility are on us to be able to check how authentic, how reliable is this rapidly changing digital evidence, right? We cannot rely only on AI to do everything. I'm sure even us, when you are students, sometimes you do assignments. I'm sure in a very good and ethical manner, you use ChatGPT, but then you do not rely on only what ChatGPT is giving you. You use your own brains, you use your own analytical perspective, and then you make use of ChatGPT to produce a good work. But in the field of in the judiciary, this is the same way in which technological innovative technologies they must be used. We cannot rely solely on them, right? Because if we do so, then really, like Professor Richard Susskind said, it would be the end of lawyers. We do not need lawyers if we are relying only on AI. We cannot do so, right? Now, I will take one last question. In Arab nations, we find use of advanced technology. How is it governed by law, and how the law can regulate such technology? You know, it's not only in Arab nations. Even in Europe, there are innovations which are happening. But it's like we see one new technological advancement, we create a law to cater for that. In doing so, you will see another technological advancement, then you have to create another law for that. This is how we are working to keep pace with the changes in law. It's just like the COVID-19. Just like the COVID-19, we started to find some symptoms, so we had some vaccines which were created to take care of the symptoms that were around. But then some other nations, they complained of other symptoms, so you have other vaccines. So we are trying to walk like, like we say in English, we cross the bridge when we reach there, right? So when there is the use of advanced technology, you are using it, you see it very efficient, you need to create the law in parallel to be able to deal with it. Now, in terms of new technologies, like you talk about robotics, Neuralink, so we have to create the laws for it, right? Now the last question. AI is being used. AI is now being used for risk assessment and sentencing recommendation. Should AI have a role in legal decision making, or does this undermine judicial discretion? No, we have to be very clear about how we want AI to intervene in the judicial decision making system. You know, AI, let's say, okay, most of you are from India, right? Not only in India. If there is something that every nation in the world complains about, it is delays in justice. So one of the possibilities that we have seen is how we can use AI to be able to work on that delays in justice. So we try to take the help of AI where we can to smoothen the procedure. But when it comes to biases, when it comes to discrimination, when it comes to privacy of people, breach of fundamental rights, it is not necessary that AI will be able to do the job just like a barrister or a law practitioner would do, or like the judiciary as a whole will do. So AI should be there for a specific reason, but then the judiciary should remain the conventional way it was, where you have the human brain working on it. So if you work as a balance, it helps the situation. Now, if you say that, okay, barristers, you no longer have any purpose here, AI is going to do legal decision making, then you will see problems about biases, unfairness, prejudices, discrimination. So human and technology, they need to work hand in hand in the judiciary. That's right. Okay. So
Yes, ma'am. I think
yes, I see Mr. Ramani has one last question.
Ruko.
No.
Hello, Bhavna. Hi, this is Natraj.
Yes, Natraj. Hello.
Tell me, I mean, when judiciary relies largely on the Evidence Act, on
Yeah.
the document evidence I'm talking about, when technology is so improvised, they can tamper with a lot of things.
Yeah.
How do you see further? I mean, I'm talking 5 years from now, when the technology is going to be so advanced, and if you rely totally on evidence of documents and whatever, you go to, I don't know, would justice prevail?
For me personally, I won't speak from on behalf of others. If I have to take this situation about introducing AI in the judicial system from 5 years from here, it has to be properly articulated as to what would be the role of AI. But if we say that we are relying on AI in judicial decision making, and there tends to, get a behavior like, okay, humans say, okay, this will be done by AI. We are not going to do things like we are not going to participate as we used to. So for me, this is highly risky because every case that comes to court, it has its own complexity, it has its own difficulties and confusion. So like we say in law, the rules of interpretation, I am not very sure that AI can interpret a law, can interpret a legal issue in the same way as the human mind would have done. Because AI, at the end of the day, it is what is fed into it. It is not creative like the human brain would be. So for me, AI is very good to use in order to be able to find solution to procedural issues, delays, and all kinds of, inconveniences in the justice system. But when we are dealing with the future of people, with the lives of people, when we are dealing with sensitive matters like rape, like, child prostitution, like child marriage, where there are so much of sensitive information, there we cannot rely on AI to take decisions about the lives of people. So for me, the judiciary has a huge amount of work to do if it wants to use AI in terms of in which avenues of decision making would AI be used. If this is clear, like we say, it is clear on paper, there is no problem in using AI. But if we rely on AI solely and we put our hands down now, we put our foot down, then it's going to create issues rather than helping to alleviate the problem of people. This is my perspective. I don't know if Natraj, would you agree with me? I don't know.
Yeah, agree. But then I know it's kind of tricky actually if you're talking of advancement of technology so quick and so rampant. I don't know the tampering of. But then see, like you said, the AI is going to be doing what is fed into it. There are miscreants, a lot of things. I mean, it's a very manipulative thing, right? I mean,
It
judiciary is
is.
blended, and you can twist and turn the way it is, the way you interpret it. Yeah, based
Yeah.
on the look region and whatever.
And there is also that financial aspect because, when we speak about the decision making, all starts with the investigation by the police. So having to give the police training on AI matters, on all of this. So this is also something that, it might not be affordable for patients. Okay? That's one issue, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for this very interesting session, guys.
Dr. Bhavna,
Yes, Doctor. Yes, Miss Ramani. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were Mr. Sorry.
thank you for the insightful deliberation. The content is really the need of the hour. Ma'am, I have one question. Now,
Yeah.
are we dividing the world into two halves? One half, which is using internet at 20G, 5, going beyond 5G. Another
Yeah.
part of the world where internet connectivity is still not at all as much as we are presuming. So, are we dividing the world into two halves? If so, then yes, the point of liability is always to be questioned. And what is the role of the international organizations, be it so the Europol or the organizations? I know what is the role, ma'am? Can you just?
Well, here I would just, if I have to share my perspective on this, I would say that this is a problem which, when I was delivering my lecture, I also pointed out was the unequitable access to technology. So this is where, all nations, they do not have the same capacity. They do not have the same logistics. They do not have accessible, they do not have access to technology in the same way. So this is yet another concern when we are talking about introducing AI in decision making, in the enforcement of law, whether all countries, whether all nations, they are able to have access to technology in the same way to be able to make use of the positive advantages of technology in enforcement of law. So this is where I believe international organizations, they can start off at grassroots level, helping these underdeveloped or developing nations with, first of all, having sufficient access to technology. Then we can infuse technology in their decision-making system, right? But for me, before we reach there, before we able to reach there, the conventional decision-making system, it is ongoing. So this is already dividing the country into half, because there, when you have the underdeveloped countries, they will say, okay, we are awaiting some support to be able to have access to technology. But from there, that another nation, which is the highly developed country, they have only trespass in using technology in their decision making. But this problem is like any other rampant issues that we have in different countries. That's why we still have this demarcation between underdeveloped, developing, and developed nations. They are not always able to keep up the pace on everything. Then for technology. And
Very well said, ma'am. Inclusiveness is missing,
it was.
probably.
It is. But then, we rely on international organizations. But if we have to look at how many nations so far, they do not have yet even access to basic internet services. So even the international organizations, they have a long way to go to be able to help all of these.
Correct. Thank you so much, ma'am. Great insight given. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I would like to take your leave now, guys, because
Yes,
I have
ma'am.
a lecture starting
Actually,
in
if we allow this, then the question session will start on this. Actually, this is because a lot of insightful session was there from your side, ma'am. And
yes.
I am also
Thank you,
happy that,
Dr. I am
yeah,
very happy with.
yes, actually, looking at the participants being actively participating in this session, and it is only because of your efforts, ma'am, that you have very nicely dealt on this very emerging topic. Actually, the topic is also very required for the at present contemporary times to deal with many issues, and it's a very researchable topic, so that academicians can also benefit from this topic. So anyway, it was a very nice session, and since I know promise that we'll arrange for similar sessions in future also, and my ma'am is also very cooperative. She will be here, but in an online session more than 1 hour is a little bit hectic. So with this, if any more queries are there, any more questions, anytime you want to put, you are free to put to me. I will definitely convey them to Bhavna ma'am. So coming to the last formalities, that is formal vote of thanks. It is a very nice occasion that has been provided to me by the Central University of Karnataka. So special thanks goes to the authorities who are involved at the back end, supporting us for conducting this webinar. Special thanks goes to the Dean School of Legal Jurisprudence Studies and the head of the Department of Law, Dr. Vasabras Kubagadi sir. He is present here, but for some official reasons, he could not speak on this session. So we also thank him, because whenever I proposed this session, he was eagerly interested and allowed me with full authority to organize this type of events for the benefit of the students and for the public. Special thanks goes to him, because for his encouragement it is possible. I would also like to thank a research scholar, Krishna, who they actually helped me in moderating these sessions throughout the time. And now special thanks, the most important person, Dr. Bhavna Mahadev ma'am, whose insightful deliberation has kept us enlightening throughout the session, and the way she has interacted with the participants successfully, she has able to gain the interest of the participants, that is well evidenced from the questions that have been put in the chat box, as well as during the by unmuting themselves on the platform directly. Even I had some more questions in the WhatsApp, but because of paucity of time, we are unable to put them. But I promise that those questions will be conveyed to her very soon through personal messages, and the replies will be sent back to the participants. So we all again thank you on behalf of Central University of Karnataka for giving us your valuable time, with a hope that such kind of deliberations we will receive in future also. At last but not the least, special thanks goes to all the participants who have arrived here on this weekend in 160 numbers or even more. So that is a very encouraging for us. We hope your support will be there constantly in our future endeavors also. And all those non-teaching, teaching staff and technical staff who have helped us in organizing this webinar, a special mention goes to them also. At last, with the blessings of Almighty, this has been possible. So we thank them also. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.